It is a troubling thought, isn't it? The idea that God, who is love, who is mercy, would allow another soul to wound you, that he, in his infinite wisdom, would permit betrayal, heartbreak, and sorrow to reach your doorstep. But my dear friend, if you will lend me your heart for a moment, I would like to show you that this pain is not punishment, but preparation. Pain is an unwelcome teacher, yet it carries within it a lesson that cannot be learned in times of comfort. When we experience suffering, whether through heartbreak, betrayal, or the disappointments of life, it feels as though the world is unraveling. We question why it had to happen, why God would allow such a thing, why the people we trusted were permitted to wound us. But pain, though it seems cruel, serves a purpose beyond our understanding. It does not create the wounds we carry, it merely reveals them. Imagine walking through a house at night. In the darkness, everything appears orderly, untouched, and as it should be. But then the light is turned on, and suddenly you see the dust in the corners, the cracks in the walls, the imperfections that were always there but hidden in shadow. Pain does the same thing to the soul. It exposes what we could not see when everything seemed fine. It reveals insecurities we thought we had conquered, fears we believed were buried, and weaknesses we did not want to acknowledge. Many people go through life believing they are strong, believing they have mastered their emotions, that they are immune to heartbreak or disappointment. Then pain arrives, uninvited, and shatters that illusion. Suddenly we find ourselves questioning our worth, doubting our purpose, or struggling to let go of something that was never meant for us. The wound itself may come from another person's actions, but what it exposes is something deeper, something that was already within us, waiting to be seen. It is not the betrayal that causes the deepest suffering. It is the realization of what it touches within us. If someone abandons us, the pain is not just in the leaving, it is in what their absence stirs within us. Does it bring up a fear of being unlovable? Does it awaken old wounds of rejection from the past? Does it confirm a belief we secretly held about not being enough? The pain itself is an invitation, calling us to look deeper, to ask ourselves why this hurt cuts so deeply, to uncover what has been hidden beneath the surface all along. When we begin to see pain as revelation rather than destruction, we understand that God allows it for a reason. He is not punishing us. He is showing us what needs to be healed. Without pain, we might never realize that we have placed our identity in the approval of others. Without loss, we may never understand that we have been leaning on temporary things instead of eternal truths. Without hardship, we would never discover the depth of resilience and strength within us. Consider a wound on the body. If left unexamined, it may fester beneath the skin, unseen but growing worse. The moment pressure is applied, the infection is revealed. The pain of the pressure is not cruelty, it is mercy. It forces us to acknowledge what is there, to clean the wound, and to allow it to heal properly. Likewise, the pressure of life's struggles reveals what is unhealthy within us. The relationships we cling to, the validation we seek, the fears we ignore, all of it comes to the surface when pain is applied. God does not allow suffering without purpose. He does not let pain touch his children without it carrying something for them to learn. And often, what he is revealing is not weakness, but strength. We do not know the weight we can bear until we are tested. We do not recognize our capacity for endurance until we have walked through fire. Sometimes what pain exposes is not brokenness, but the fact that we are stronger than we ever imagined. There is a refining that happens through trials. Gold is purified through fire, its impurities rising to the top so they can be removed. In the same way, pain brings to the surface the things within us that do not belong, the doubts, the fears, the false identities we have worn. It is a painful process, but it is also a liberating one. Because once something is revealed, it can be healed. Once the light exposes the truth, we have the opportunity to change, to grow, and to step into the fullness of who we were always meant to be. Most people spend their lives avoiding pain, trying to numb it, suppress it, or distract themselves from it. But avoidance only delays the lesson. The wound remains, hidden beneath the surface, waiting for the next moment of pressure to bring it back up. But for those who choose to see pain as a guide rather than an enemy, there is something greater on the other side. If we ask the right questions, what is this pain revealing about me? What is it asking me to heal? What truth is being shown to me through this suffering? Then we can walk through hardship with purpose. One day, the wounds that felt unbearable will no longer hold power over us. The betrayal that once cut so deeply will become something we can look at without anger, without bitterness, without pain. And when that day comes, we will realize that God was never trying to break us. He was trying to set us free. Suffering is an experience that touches every human life. No one is exempt from pain, loss, or hardship. It comes in many forms: betrayal, illness, loneliness, financial struggle, the death of a loved one. In those moments of suffering, it is natural to ask why. Why would a loving God allow such pain? Why must we endure heartbreak, disappointment, and sorrow? These are the questions that arise in the depths of our anguish, and yet within them lies a profound truth. Suffering has the power to draw us closer to God in ways that comfort and ease never could. There is something about pain that strips away all illusions. When life is going well, when everything is in its place, it is easy to believe that we are in control. We build our lives with plans and expectations, believing that if we work hard enough, love deeply enough, or do everything the right way, we can avoid suffering. But then hardship comes, and suddenly everything we relied upon is shaken. The things that once seemed secure are taken away, and we are left standing in the uncertainty of our own limitations. It is in these moments, when the ground beneath us feels unsteady, that we begin to reach beyond ourselves, searching for something greater. Pain has a way of silencing the noise of the world. In times of joy and prosperity, distractions abound. We are caught up in daily life, in responsibilities, in the pursuit of success, or relationships, or happiness. But suffering slows everything down. It forces us to sit in the stillness of our own hearts, to face our fears, to confront the questions we have long avoided, and in that stillness, we begin to hear the voice of God more clearly. It is not that he was ever silent, but rather that we were too busy to listen. When we are hurting, we turn to God in desperation. We cry out to him with a sincerity that may not have existed before. In moments of deep sorrow, prayers are no longer just words spoken out of habit. They become the raw and honest expressions of a soul longing for comfort. And it is in these moments that we begin to experience the presence of God in a way that defies explanation. He does not always take away the suffering immediately, but he draws near. He strengthens us in ways we did not know we needed. Consider the stories of those who have walked through immense suffering. Time and time again, those who have endured the greatest trials speak of a nearness to God that they had never known before. They speak of a peace that does not make sense, of a strength that was not their own, of a hope that carried them through even when nothing in their circumstances changed. This is the mystery of suffering. It is not meant to destroy us, but to refine us. It strips away the superficial and brings us into a depth of faith that cannot be shaken. Suffering also reveals the temporary nature of this world. When everything is going well, it is easy to become attached to the things of this life: success, relationships, material comfort. But when suffering comes, it reminds us that all these things are fleeting. It shifts our perspective, showing us that there is something beyond what we can see. It causes us to long for the eternal, to seek something that cannot be taken away. And in that seeking we find God. It is often said that we learn more in the valleys than on the mountaintops. When life is easy, faith can become something we acknowledge but do not fully depend on. But in suffering, we are faced with a choice. We can either turn away from God in anger and despair, or we can lean into him with trust, even when we do not understand. And for those who choose the latter, there is a transformation that takes place. The very thing that was meant to break them becomes the thing that deepens their relationship with God. There is a passage that says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." This is not just a comforting phrase, it is a promise. In our brokenness, he draws near. In our pain, he is working. Even when we cannot see it, even when we do not feel it, he is moving in ways beyond our comprehension. He does not waste suffering. Every tear, every struggle, every hardship is used for a greater purpose. Many of the greatest spiritual awakenings happen not in times of prosperity, but in times of deep suffering. It is in the darkness that the light shines brightest. It is in our weakness that his strength is made perfect. And when we come through the fire, we are not the same. We are stronger, wiser, and more connected to God than we ever were before. Suffering is never easy. It is painful, it is lonely, and at times it feels unbearable. But if we allow it, it can become the very thing that draws us into the deepest intimacy with God. He does not promise a life without hardship, but he does promise that we will never walk through it alone. And in that promise, there is hope. Pain often feels like an ending. When we experience deep wounds, whether from betrayal, loss, or disappointment, it can seem as if life as we knew it has crumbled. In those moments, we wonder if we will ever feel whole again. The pain is raw and the wound seems final. But what if the wound is not the end? What if it is actually the beginning? There is a truth that is difficult to see when we are hurting. Wounds do not come to destroy us, they come to transform us. Every hardship, every heartbreak, every moment of suffering carries within it the potential for something greater. It is not the wound itself that defines us, but what we choose to do with it. Some allow pain to make them bitter, while others use it as a catalyst for growth. The difference is not in what happens to them, but in how they respond. Consider how wounds heal. When the skin is broken, the body immediately begins a process of repair. New cells form, the tissue regenerates, and over time, the wound closes. The body does not stay in a state of brokenness, it fights to restore itself. And so it is with the soul. When we are wounded emotionally or spiritually, the pain may feel permanent, but healing is always possible. The wound is not the final chapter. It is simply part of the journey. Sometimes the wound is what awakens us. It forces us to stop, to reflect, to reassess our lives. It breaks the illusions we held, the false beliefs we clung to, and reveals truths we might never have seen otherwise. A broken heart may teach us where we placed our worth. A betrayal may reveal where we trusted too blindly. A failure may open our eyes to a new path. The wound, painful as it is, often carries with it the lessons we need to grow. Pain has a way of refining us. Fire purifies gold, stripping away impurities, making it stronger and more valuable. Likewise, suffering burns away what is unnecessary in us, our pride, our illusions, our attachments to things that do not serve us. What remains is something purer, something wiser. The wound does not weaken us, it reveals our strength. Think of the people who have gone through the greatest hardships. Many of them emerge with a depth, a wisdom, a compassion that was not there before. They have been through pain, but they have also learned from it. Their wounds did not break them, they built them. They discovered resilience, they found meaning, and they used their suffering as a foundation for something new. The wound is not the end, because life continues. Even when it feels like everything has stopped, time moves forward, and if we allow ourselves to move with it, we will find that healing comes, even in the smallest ways. The nights that once seemed unbearable grow easier. The tears that once fell freely begin to slow. The weight we carried begins to lift. The wound does not disappear overnight, but day by day, moment by moment, it becomes part of our story rather than the thing that defines us. What if the wound is actually the doorway to something greater? What if, through our pain, we discover our purpose? Many who have suffered go on to help others who are struggling. They take their wounds and turn them into wisdom. They use their experiences to guide, to uplift, to heal. The very thing that once hurt them becomes the source of their strength. God does not waste our pain. He does not allow wounds without purpose. Even when we do not understand, even when the pain seems senseless, there is something happening beneath the surface. The wound may be preparing us, shaping us, leading us towards something we cannot yet see. What feels like an ending may actually be the start of something new. One day we will look back and see that the wound was not the moment everything fell apart. It was the moment we began to rise. It was the moment we were given the opportunity to rebuild, to heal, to step into a new version of ourselves. And in that realization, we will understand that the wound was never meant to destroy us. It was meant to awaken us. There will come a time in life when you are hurt by someone you trusted. It may be a betrayal, a lie, a rejection, or a deep wound inflicted by someone you never expected to harm you. In those moments, it is natural to feel anger, pain, and even a sense of injustice. You may wonder why this happened, why someone you cared for could act in such a way, and how you will ever move past the hurt. But there is a deeper truth hidden in your suffering. Those who hurt you are merely instruments in a much greater plan. It is easy to focus on the person who caused the pain. Their actions, their choices, and their betrayal seem to be the source of your suffering. You may find yourself replaying events in your mind, searching for answers, or even longing for closure. But the reality is, the people who hurt you were never in control of your destiny. They were merely tools used to shape you, refine you, and redirect you towards something greater. There is a lesson in every wound, even if it is not immediately clear. When someone walks away from your life, it may feel like a loss, but often it is a form of protection. When a relationship crumbles, it may seem like heartbreak, but in time, you may see that it was necessary for your growth. When someone betrays you, it may feel like a cruel act, but it often exposes truths that you needed to see. The people who hurt you were not the authors of your pain. They were merely the means through which a higher purpose was unfolding. Pain has a way of opening our eyes. It forces us to confront things we might have ignored, to see people for who they truly are, and to recognize the places where we need to grow. Without pain, we often remain stagnant, comfortable in situations that no longer serve us. But suffering shakes us awake. It moves us forward. It forces us to let go of what was never meant to stay. Think of the moments in your life when you have changed the most. Was it during times of ease, or was it through struggle? Growth is rarely born from comfort. It is in the difficult seasons, in the moments of betrayal, rejection, and hardship, that we are shaped into who we are meant to be. The people who hurt you did not break you. They simply revealed where you needed to become stronger. Holding on to resentment only prolongs your suffering. When you dwell on the actions of those who hurt you, you keep yourself tied to them, allowing them to control your emotions and your peace. But when you shift your perspective, when you see them as instruments rather than enemies, you take back your power. You recognize that their role in your life was not to destroy you, but to push you towards something greater. Forgiveness does not mean excusing what they did. It does not mean pretending that their actions were right. Instead, it means releasing the burden of bitterness so that you can move forward. It means accepting that everything, even pain, serves a purpose. When you let go of resentment, you make space for healing. You allow yourself to grow beyond what happened, rather than being defined by it. Some of the greatest transformations come after deep pain. The person you become after heartbreak, betrayal, or loss is often wiser, stronger, and more resilient than the person you were before. You learn to set boundaries. You learn to trust your intuition. You learn what you will and will not accept. Pain refines you, making you more aware of your worth, your strength, and your purpose. Every challenge, every hardship, every painful experience is leading you somewhere. The people who hurt you may have thought they were in control, but they were merely playing a part in something far beyond their understanding. What they meant for harm, life will use for your good. What felt like an ending was actually a beginning. In time, you will look back and see that those who hurt you were never truly the source of your pain. They were just instruments used to bring about your growth. And when you reach that place of understanding, you will no longer feel the weight of the hurt. Instead, you will feel gratitude for the lessons, for the strength you gained, and for the path that pain ultimately led you to. There is a moment in life when we all face betrayal, disappointment, or deep wounds caused by another. Whether it is a harsh word spoken in anger, a trust that has been broken, or an act of cruelty that shakes the foundation of our hearts, the pain of being wronged can leave lasting scars. In those moments, the most natural reaction is to hold on to the hurt, to let resentment take root, and to believe that justice will only come when the other person suffers as we have suffered. But what if true victory is not found in revenge or holding on to anger? What if the greatest strength lies in forgiveness? Forgiveness is not weakness. It does not mean excusing the wrongs committed against you or pretending they did not happen. It does not mean allowing someone back into your life who has repeatedly hurt you. Rather, forgiveness is a declaration of freedom. Freedom from the chains of bitterness, freedom from the burden of pain, and freedom from allowing the actions of others to control your heart. When we refuse to forgive, we carry the weight of anger wherever we go. It lingers in our minds, shaping the way we see the world. It builds walls around our hearts, making it difficult to trust, to love, or to embrace joy fully. The one who hurt us may have moved on, unaware of the torment they left behind, but we remain trapped in a prison of our own making. In that state, they still hold power over us. True victory comes when we decide to release that weight and take back our peace. Forgiveness is not an instant act, but a process. There will be days when the pain resurfaces, when anger rises again, and when we feel tempted to hold on to resentment. But each time we choose to let go, we weaken the grip of the past on our hearts. Forgiveness is not about the other person. It is about reclaiming our own well-being. It is about refusing to allow what was done to us to define the rest of our lives. One of the greatest truths about forgiveness is that it is a gift we give ourselves. When we forgive, we are no longer tied to the pain of the past. We begin to heal. We step into a life that is not dictated by old wounds, but shaped by strength, wisdom, and grace. We learn that our power is not in changing the past or making someone else suffer. It is in choosing to rise above what was meant to break us. Forgiveness also changes the way we see ourselves. When we hold on to grudges, we often become hardened, allowing the pain to shape our identity. We begin to see ourselves as victims, as people defined by what happened to us. But when we forgive, we reclaim our story. We choose to see ourselves not as victims, but as victors, people who have overcome, who have found peace despite the pain, and who refuse to let the darkness of the past define their future. There is strength in extending grace to those who have wronged us. It does not mean allowing toxic people to remain in our lives. It does not mean forgetting the lessons we have learned. It means recognizing that everyone, even those who have hurt us, is on their own journey of growth. It means acknowledging that we too have made mistakes, and that the same mercy we desire in our moments of failure is the mercy we can choose to extend to others. Forgiveness does not erase the past, but it transforms the future. It allows us to live with open hearts, to love without fear, and to move forward unburdened by resentment. It does not mean justice is ignored. Sometimes consequences are necessary, but it does mean that we no longer allow the past to hold us captive. In the end, true victory is not found in making someone else suffer for what they did. It is not in carrying anger like a shield, nor in seeking revenge. True victory is in rising above, in refusing to let pain harden our hearts, and in choosing to walk forward with peace. Forgiveness is not a sign of weakness. It is the greatest act of strength. It is the quiet but powerful declaration that no matter what has been done to us, we will not be defined by bitterness. We will be defined by grace. There are moments in life when everything seems to fall apart. Plans crumble, relationships end, and doors that once seemed wide open suddenly close with no explanation. You may feel lost, abandoned, or as if you are moving through a season of struggle without an end in sight. It is in these moments of hardship that doubt creeps in. You may wonder if you are being punished, if life has turned against you, or if all your efforts have been in vain. But the truth is, you are not being punished, you are being prepared. Every difficulty, every setback, and every disappointment is shaping you for something greater. It may not be clear right now, but the challenges you are facing are not obstacles meant to break you. They are lessons meant to strengthen you. Growth is rarely comfortable. Becoming who you are meant to be requires endurance, resilience, and a willingness to let go of what no longer serves you. Think about the strongest, most admirable people you know. Were they shaped by an easy life, or did they become who they are because of what they endured? Strength is not born in comfort. It is built through struggle. The patience you are learning in this season of waiting, the wisdom you are gaining through hardship, and the courage you are developing through adversity will all serve a greater purpose in the future. When a seed is planted, it must first be buried in the darkness of the soil. From the outside, it looks as though nothing is happening, but beneath the surface, the seed is breaking open, stretching its roots downward and preparing to rise. The struggle it endures underground is necessary for it to grow strong enough to push through the soil and reach the light. Without the darkness, without the resistance, it would never become the tree it was meant to be. In the same way, the challenges you are facing now are not the end of your journey. They are the beginning of something greater. There is a reason why certain doors have closed in your life. Some opportunities were not meant for you because they would have limited your potential. Some people were removed from your life because they would have kept you from becoming the person you are destined to be. What feels like rejection is often protection. What seems like loss is often a necessary step towards something better. The frustration of unanswered prayers, delayed dreams, and unexpected detours is not a sign that you are forgotten. It is a sign that you are being prepared for something beyond what you can imagine. If you received everything you desired before you were ready, you would not be able to sustain it. The preparation process is what equips you to handle the blessings that are coming. Pain has a way of refining us. It strips away our illusions, reveals our true strength, and forces us to rely on something greater than ourselves. It is in struggle that we develop faith, in waiting that we develop patience, and in loss that we learn what truly matters. What you are going through is not in vain. Every challenge is shaping you, every delay is teaching you, and every moment of hardship is making you more resilient. The key is to trust the process. It is easy to become discouraged when things are not going as planned. It is tempting to give up when the road seems too difficult. But the moments when you feel like quitting are often the moments right before a breakthrough. Do not allow temporary struggles to make you forget the purpose behind your journey. You are not being abandoned. You are being strengthened. You are not being overlooked. You are being positioned for something far greater than you can currently see. The struggles of today are building the foundation for the victories of tomorrow. Every delay, every setback, and every painful experience is molding you into the person you are meant to be. One day you will look back on this season of your life and understand why things had to happen the way they did. You will see how every challenge prepared you, how every loss redirected you, and how every delay was actually a gift. What feels difficult now is shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more capable of handling the blessings that are coming your way. So, keep going. Trust the process. Hold on to the belief that what is happening now is not the end, it is preparation. Something greater is on the horizon, and when the time is right, everything you have endured will make sense.